Hi, this is Scott Sustacek, your host for CEO to CEO, the podcast from the CEO Roundtable. CEO Roundtable is a peer-to-peer organization that brings business leaders together to share wisdom, experience, and insights from the trenches. Today's episode is sponsored by IntroWorks, launching powerful B2B brands for more than 30 years. Learn more about them at intro.works.
Hi, Scott.
Hi, Lisa.
How are you doing today?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
Wonderful, wonderful. And I'm delighted to be here with you today to launch our podcast series.
I know it's an exciting day, and thank you for having me.
I really appreciated that you are collaborating with us and as a way of kind of extending what our mission is to the roundtable, and that's supporting leaders by sharing insights on what they've learned through their experiences.
Well, I think there's a lot of credit that goes to you and the CEO Roundtable for buying into this right away and the opportunity, because probably the last thing the world needs is another podcast. But I think we all saw the value in what this could bring to not just CEO Roundtable members, but other business owners, business leaders that can gain from the insights of the great companies we've got in the CEO Roundtable.
I agree 100%, Scott. And a podcast is a natural extension to the mission of the CEO Roundtable, which is to support leaders and share wisdom through real life experiences. And the business leaders within the CEO Roundtable are extraordinary people. They are extraordinary in their own right. Their enduring drive towards a vision, to their commitment to personal and organizational growth. And the podcast series is a fantastic way to highlight their accomplishments and share their wisdom with a broader audience. You have been with the CEO Roundtable for a long time.
A long time.
Since 2008.
Right.
And also a member of our board of directors. And so the CEO Roundtable has been very important to you. And can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, yeah, and I think at the time I joined the Roundtable, I had been in some other groups, peer groups, and had gained from those, but got connected to the CEO Roundtable, and as I was talking with the groups and interviewing different groups to join, it just became clear to me that organization could bring me things that I hadn't been exposed to before. And when I joined, being a younger CEO at the time, running my first company, there was just a lot of things that I hadn't yet seen, but we were on a pretty rapid growth pace. And I knew that I needed a network outside of our organization that I could go to with things that couldn't necessarily talk about with my team, couldn't necessarily talk about with my board of directors or my owner. And I needed somewhere to really vet my thinking around the organization, how we could grow the leadership team, acquisitions that we were thinking about. And it just seemed like the right fit at the time. And here we are, how many years later, and it's still the right fit at the time.
Was there any aha moment on the roundtable that just left a big impression?
I think well, first I'm gonna answer that, I think, more generally, and I think the big aha moment in terms of what I was getting out of the roundtable was really more around what was I bringing to the roundtable, and was I bringing my biggest issues to really get input from the group. And there's that old saying, you get out of it what you put into it. And I don't think that can be more true than with the CEO Roundtable, because I think the more open you can be, the more candid you can be, the greater your experience in terms of what you get back from your peers sitting around that table and wanting to give you advice and investing their time to give it to you. Because I think that there are just great things that come when you do that. And I've seen it not only for myself, but I've seen other leaders come in with really big issues around their leadership teams, around their business performance, around their financial structure. And when they laid it out and got challenged by the team on some of their thinking, got challenged by the roundtable on how they were considering a decision, I've seen business owners leave there completely changed in terms of their outlook, what they were going to do in their business, and it showed up ultimately in the results of their business and also in their own personal happiness in running their companies. It had a big impact, and I've had some of those same things. I can think of back to the very first acquisition I did, and I brought that to my roundtable, and I got great input on cultural fit, on people, on really making sure that I had integration nailed down. And not having done an acquisition before, I was able to build off the strength of what others had experienced and maybe not done so well on their own, but learned from it and were willing to share that with me, and which gave me a roadmap to do things differently and better.
And even those times when they weren't, the focus wasn't necessarily on something that you were bringing to the table, did you find value in listening to what others were bringing and what other members, how they would share their experience to someone else's situation?
Oh, absolutely. Even when you don't bring something, but you're listening to someone else, describe a situation that they're in, you can think of situations very similar in your business quite easily. And in fact, I just had an experience I need to share that I think underscores that so significantly. As I was talking to another CEO and suggested that they think about the CEO Roundtable as a peer group. And that person's response to me was, I have enough problems of my own. I don't have time to sit around and listen to 10 other people tell me their problems. And I'm thinking to myself, boy, that is the exact reason you should, because you might gain a lot of wisdom and be very surprised at how similar their challenges are to what you're facing and how they might be thinking about it in a completely different way than you are. Mm-hmm. And it is in listening to those challenges, I think, that it causes you to reflect on your own situation. And boy, do I have something, maybe not quite the same, but something very similar. And so there's some takeaways I can get from this as well.
And even if you think you have the answer and you hear a fresh perspective on something, it could shape maybe how you want to lead differently or make a shift in something.
Well, and I think that's the most important aspect there that you're hitting on, Lisa, is that in lower middle market companies, oftentimes your leadership team may be reluctant to really challenge you in the way that they should. And at the CEO Roundtable, you're not going to get that. You're going to get challenged, and you're going to get to hear things that you don't necessarily want to hear about what you're thinking or what you're trying to do. But it's going to cause you to come at it from a different angle than you were considering when you walked in the room. Mm-hmm. I don't think there can be, especially in the big decisions where you're putting capital at risk, you're trying to grow your business, you're hiring people, you're moving people. Those are all big things that sometimes you can't undo so easily. And getting those other perspectives of people that maybe have been there and done that, and succeeded, possibly failed. Learning from that is, you can't put a price tag on that.
There's a little bit of mistake avoidance.
Right.
There.
Yeah.
And so if you can kind of pack your wisdom or your knowledge toolbox with maybe the experience of others, you see maybe things more clearly than what you would have without it.
Well, and I think as you're growing a business, there are always risks. And if you can reduce your risks by getting input from people that have that kind of experience or have that perspective, boy, I sure want to take advantage of that in today's world. So, yeah.
Well, Scott, tell us a little bit more about you.
Well, sure, Lisa. My career started at a company called Nystrom, and I was an entry-level salesperson there. And ultimately went all the way to CEO over a 21-year career with that company. That Nystrom is a manufacturer and distributor of commercial construction products. just a fun growth story, and they've continued to have success. After I departed, I got recruited away from there to do an industrial sand mining and processing facility, a startup called Jordan Sands down in Mankato. And then from Jordan Sands, became president of an education and ed tech company called Capstone. And now, most recently, I'm running a company called Structures Incorporated in Chaska, which is a specialty contractor in large-scale earth retention and segmental pavers.
Okay, those are 4 very different businesses that you've led. What would you say is something that is part of your success story?
Well, I like growing things, and I like putting the puzzle pieces together that accelerate growth in companies like the ones I just talked about. And there's just a lot of fun in that. These are all lower middle market companies, and I think building the strategy, building the team, going out and executing, to me is really where the fun is. And I find a lot of energy in that.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And it sounds like with all of that, you've had a real variety of experiences that when you're in conversation with other CEOs, you can understand and relate to what they're sharing and what they're talking about, the trials, the struggle, the elation at the win, or getting past something, given your, so far the journey that you've been on yourself.
Well, I think it's certainly, having been in the seat, when I sit down with another business owner or CEO or president and we start talking about some of the issues they're facing with, because I've been in the seat and I'm in the seat, it's very easy to relate. And, my background extends from metal manufacturing to industrial mineral processing, which is a high capital intensive business, to SaaS, into the educational market, and now into specialty contracting. And so I can bring all that to the table and connect to that other individual in certainly at least one way, if not many.
That is why I believe that you are the perfect host for the CEO to CEO podcast, because you engage in those conversations and you yourself are exchanging ideas and you are authentically interested in knowing more about their experience. And so you draw that out. Just in the conversations that I've had with you over the course of knowing you, you're a great conversationalist. And so I can only imagine that listening and being a listener of the conversations, it's going to feel like there's a peek into the private conversation between two CEOs.
Well, let's focus on trying to deliver that, because I think what we're going to have we're going to have great guests. Mm-hmm. When you think about some of the people we've got, set up to be on this podcast, it's going to be fantastic for people to hear those people, and then the topics that they're talking about. These are all the issues that anybody running a business today, any business owner, you're facing these things. And so this is going to have immediate relevance to the business community at large. And that's what I'm excited about, is to kind of bring those things together in a way that is different than I think any other podcast out there.
Yeah. And when I think about now who you've been interviewing or having conversations with, they are business leaders who really lean into the whole peer wisdom exchange experience. And they are so willing and gracious with sharing their best practices, their experience, their learnings for the benefit of others.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that will come through to our listeners, and I think provide hopefully a deeper level of learning for our listeners.
I believe so. I am certain that the conversations are going to be enlightening and interesting and maybe entertaining.
I think we can bring all of that.
We'll bring all that to the table.
Right.
Well, Scott, thank you so much for, one, coming to the CEO Roundtable with this idea of a podcast series, and for being our host, and then taking all that we can highlight from these remarkable people and sharing it more broadly with others.
Well, and thank you for being open to the idea. I think this is going to be a lot of fun.
I think so too. Okay.
Thank you for listening to the CEO to CEO podcast, produced by Dave Swerdlick and the incredible team at Uptown Podcast Studios. You can find them at uptownpodcast.com. Be certain to subscribe so you don't miss an episode with more CEO wisdom highlighting experience and insights from the trenches. If you enjoyed this podcast, please leave us a review and share with others. If you are a Minnesota-based business leader who would like to learn more about being part of a peer advisory roundtable, check us out at ceo-roundtable.org.